Hey, what's up out there? So, last video, I've read you chapter 2 of my book, and this time I'm going to be reading you chapter 3. So, something that I'm going to note before I actually read, last chapter, there was an exact scene that was directly taken from the TV show, and that is our actually first scene that we ever get to see her in the TV show, our first introduction scene, and that is her beating up a kid at school. So I literally took that scene and a little bit onward from the TV show, so you get to see it from her perspective, and I think it's fun. So if you're familiar with the show, I try to implement that scene, and sort of you get to see kind of before and after all of that goes on. So that is why I think it would be fun if you're on this journey with me to check out the TV show, because I pull a lot of scenes from that. You can find it on YouTube, 13 episodes long. I think it's a pretty decent show, and it actually influenced me to actually write my own book. So without further ado, I'm just going to start reading. So, chapter 3. It's me again, Greaser Girl, apparently. Tonight, I'm writing in my bedroom. My folks think I'm reading a book, probably. I hope that's what they think anyway. I don't want them to know how into this journal diary thing I've seemed to become. Anyway, I'd like to start things off from when I was walking home the other day. At the end of school, I try to leave the place as fast as I can. I especially try to avoid Angela, the tough greaser girl, and the misguided guy who thinks I throw like a girl. I wasn't sure about this new school. Going back the next day made me feel annoyed. I decided to go to the library that I passed earlier. I would need to get a library card if I wanted to start reading books. I filled out a form to get a card at the front desk. The lady took it from me as she went and she went to the back. While she was gone, I took a look around, leaning backwards against the front desk with my elbows on the countertop. I blew my bangs out of my eyes. I noticed a standing greaser wearing a sleeveless jeans jacket with a muscle shirt underneath, reading a music magazine. I spotted another greaser sitting on the other side of the room, reading a book on cars. I heard some giggling, and my eyes were drawn to where the noise was coming from. I saw two greasers sitting on the floor, reading, or rather looking at a science book. It dawned on me. Everybody here is a greaser. If not a greaser, they looked like me. As Angela put it, low class. I didn't know how to feel about it. Are all the girls this side of town like Angela? Bad with a chip on her shoulder? Aiming to misbehave? She seemed proud to be in the principal's office. I can't say I was proud to be in the principal's office. I was just proud that I stood up for myself. Does the whole school think I'm an Angela type of girl? I'm not sure if I want that. She seems, well, over the top. A walking, talking gimmick. If a greaser girl has a bad name, how can I clear my name? I really shouldn't think about what people think of me. It's hard not to sometimes, though. I saw a mom reading to her kid. It made me grin. Just because you have a tough break or live on a certain side of town doesn't mean you're automatically the hood type. The giggling turned into laughing. A librarian told the two greasers to be quiet. They shut their traps and started playfully shoving each other. I looked to the other side of the library. A greaser sneakily vandalizing a table with a switchblade comes into sight. There just isn't enough people working here to keep tabs on every corner of the joint. My heart sank. I understood why people would think very low of this side of town. It's tough to be different in a place where there is so much of the same thing. Sorry. That might just be the case for this side of town. I wonder if anybody on this side of town are actually into books. These greasers look like they are just here for kicks and giggles, not for books. I could see the librarian looking at the greaser shaking her head, almost as if to say, Why couldn't they go somewhere else? It made me feel awkward. Finally, the lady came back. "Here we are," she said, and she handed me a card. I gave her a big smile, and I said, "Thank you." I really wanted to make it seem that I was gonna put that card to good use. The greasers here probably don't even have a library card. At least not the science book ones. I browsed through the library, and I decided on a book. Their selection looks alright. It's one thing that makes moving to a new town exciting. Not all libraries have the same books. Some have nice surprises in them. I left the place with a book called No Time for Sergeants. There's a TV show based on the book. I've seen it a number of times, but books are a different experience. The show is pretty funny, so I reckon the book would be too. The walk home from school is not that close. My mom made it seem like it's close. I don't think anyone would say it's close. It's not too bad, but it's enough to make you tired. I left the library. The sun was setting. There was pink in the sky again. Maybe Tulsa has pink skies. While I stopped to look at it, a muscle car drove by, and they threw some trash at me. It startled me. I could hear laughing getting further away as their car drove down the road. I looked at the trash. It was from a burger joint. I thought to myself it was probably the preppy guys. They don't seem to like people from the north side of town. If that's the case, why even drive here? I stared at the trash for a while. It smelled like fries. I started to get hungry again, and cold as the sun was leaving. I stayed there for a while because the preppies drove in the direction of my house, and I didn't want to get any closer to them. I was paranoid they might have been at a stoplight and I would pass them or something weird. I also was worried they were looking for me to mess with me. I'm by myself and it's getting dark. I'm a tough girl, but it's foolish to try to handle a bunch of guys in the dark. Although my parents usually don't care when I'm out and about, I started getting worried that my dad is home already and brought home a six-pack and would say something about being out. I gave up TV for today, but it's alright. It took me long to get home. The streetlights didn't light the signs all that good, and I was using my mom's directions. Sorry guys, I have I have allergies this time around. I finally got home. I forgot our driveway was on the side of the house, and and not in front. At this point, I hadn't got a good look at our house in daylight. I couldn't tell what color it was. Blue, maybe? My go-to favorite color. I walked in immediately. I could smell alcohol. My stomach had a knot, and I sighed before I walked in. "Oh, there you are," my mom said. She was busy looking in boxes. "Hey," I said. The house was in better shape. The boxes were moved around, and a lot of unpacking had been done. "Where you been, kid?" my dad asked. I showed him my new library card. "Can't keep your face out of books, can ya? Maybe if you pay rent, the library will let you live there," my dad continued, and he started to laugh as he took a sip of beer and he sat down in front of the TV. He choked on his beer and started to cough. "Lousy drunk," I whispered it under my breath. I walked to the washroom after unloading, dropping my bag in my room. The only homework I got was in English, where I had to write a short paper on what I'd like to accomplish in high school. While I was in the washroom, I thought about what I was going to write about. I noticed some dirt on my face when I looked in the mirror. Was I really walking around with this on my face? I thought. Nobody even said anything. Not Angela, not the principal, Mr. whatever his name is from my last class, nor the librarian. Or my drunk, dopey dad. I'll cut my mom some slack, cause she was busy fishing around in boxes. Maybe everybody was too embarrassed to tell me. Maybe my tough, mysterious girl image made them shy to ask. Although after meeting Angela, I'm starting to think I'm not as tough as I thought. Maybe they thought I was aware and I'd get around to cleaning it off. I must have got it when I was wrestling that guy, I thought. I quickly washed it off and walked out. My dad was just outside of the door. It spooked me good and made me jump. Good to see you got rid of the dirt off of your face, my dad said. He noticed, I thought. Gee, thanks, I thought. Playing football again, kid? He asked. Something like that, I responded. I was glad I didn't have to explain further than that. I'll be starting dinner soon, Belinda, once I find these damn pots and pans, my mom said anxiously. We usually eat dinner later than most. I feel like hungry was all I felt that day. After showering, I got started on writing my paper on what I wanted to accomplish in high school in my room. This question seemed harder than I thought it would. While I was trying to concentrate, I could hear yelling in the other room. I could hear my dad insulting my mom, telling her she is dumb for not finding our pans. Well, maybe you forgot to bring the box with us altogether, genius, my mom retorted. I could hear that he slapped her. My heart started to beat fast. I couldn't concentrate on my schoolwork. I just paid for TV. I was not planning on blowing our money on new pans, Holly, my dad exclaimed. I quickly pulled out No Time for Sergeants, thinking maybe I could get a good laugh and lessen the tension. I read about 3 pages, but it's no use. The fighting was getting to me. I think I subconsciously thought the new environment could start a new beginning for us. But I don't know why I felt that. Nothing ever changes. To this day, my dad still never made us any good money. I heard my dad say, "Well, is dinner ever going to get made? You're the woman, aren't you?" Man, I felt like storming out there and kick him in the nuts. But that's not smart. That's just calling for it. The nerve on him. I hoped she found the pans and hit him over the head. "And you're a grown child who can't take care of himself," my mom yelled. He hit her again. She started to cry. So did I. I couldn't stand it. Although being in my PJs, I took my blanket, my book, and took off, out my bedroom window. I used to sneak out a bunch when my folks would fight. 2 houses ago, my dad nailed the window shut so I couldn't leave. So instead, I'd run to the washroom, lock myself in, and escape through the bathroom window. They could never call the cops, 'cause my dad would get in trouble. Most of the houses I've lived in, my room was on the ground floor. But the time where I thought I had a best friend, my room was upstairs. I think I was 9 or 10 then. I walked around in the night with a blanket around me, trying not to cry. I'm a tough girl, I thought. I'm going to talk because I had bunny slippers on. I didn't know where I was going. I remembered I hadn't done my homework. It didn't stop me from walking though. I wondered if they knew I was gone already. I found a park, just what I hoped for, but I couldn't find a bench, and the dark didn't help me find one. I decided just to rest by a tree. I tried reading more of my book, but my tears messed up my vision, so I just laid my head down to rest. Plus, it was dark. The park lights were not bright enough. I suddenly wished I brought a pillow, but I didn't want too much to bring. My apologies. I really was counting on No Time for Sergeants to cheer me up. I started feeling bad. I left my mom defenseless with no one defending her. My crying became more intense. Suddenly, someone was over me. It spooked me good. It was a boy with long greased hair and a brown jacket. I was calmed by the fact he looked young and unthreatening. He also looked concerned. He looked at my book, laying beside me. "Sad book," he said. "Yeah, real sad," I said with attitude. I turned on my toughness as a defense mechanism. It seems as though he could see I was crying. He took a better look at the book. "No Time for Sergeants?" he remarked. "'Kay, so it ain't a sad book," I replied. My parents are fighting again, I continued to say. He took a seat next to me. I repossessioned myself to chat with him. You like to read? He asked. Yeah, why do you? I responded. I read books all the time, he said. Which answers my question from before. What's your name? He asked next. I hope he wouldn't ask that. But it's a very unavoidable type of question. Like, how are you? When you really aren't doing good, you just kind of say, not too bad, but you really don't mean it. I hate my name, I replied. Well, what is it? He asked. Belinda, but nobody ever calls me that. I exclaimed. Why not? He asked with a puzzled face. 'Cause I hate it, good enough? I yelled. Nothing wrong with it. He said. Yeah, there is. My dad thought it up, I explained. Well, what do they call you then? He asked. You don't need to call me anything. Won't be here long enough for it to matter. My dad will find another rig that's gonna make us rich and drive us off again, I explained. You ever read To Kill a Mockingbird? He asked. No, I responded. It's one of my favorite books, he said. What's that matter anyhow? I asked. I guess 'cause you kind of remind me of the character from the story, Scout. I always pictured her like you. She was fearless, he was quick to say. Fearless? Even though I'm crying, I thought? You got a favorite book? He continued. The Yearling, I responded. I've never read that one, but I got a lot of good books if you want to borrow one sometime, he said invitingly. I turned my face into a more inviting tone, making me look friendly to the idea of it. So, the SD card got full again. I really gotta clean it out. Anyway, I'm going to start off where I last was. Well, I guess I'll go, he said as he stood up. You okay out here? He continued. Shoot, yeah. This ain't nothing new, I said. He walked a couple of steps and looked back at me. Well, you can catch me where books are found, he said. He gave me a playful salute. He walked away and joined two figures I could see in the distance. A tall, hefty figure, and a slimmer figure 2 or 3 inches shorter standing beside the tall one. He rejoined them, creating an almost perfect staircase, him being the shortest one. And they walked off in the direction where my house is. I wondered if they lived close by. The greaser boy really lightened the mood. I noticed I no longer felt stressed and my eyes had dried up. I really hoped I'd see him again. He said you can catch me where books are found, which to me obviously meant the library. Most likely the one I was at. I thought, he probably lives close to here. It looked like the 3 figures were walking coming from somewhere or something. At this time of night, they were probably heading home. I wanted to go home too, and to my warm bed. I was trying to remember if he was one of the greasers from the library earlier, but I really didn't think so. After a while, I went back home. I climbed back into my room. It seemed like my folks were already sleeping. I tried shaking off the grass, but I was very eager to be in my warm bed, so there was some grass I was pulling out of my bed. I was very hungry. I wondered if grass tasted good, as weird as that sounds. My mind started to wander, and I started thinking about the greaser boy again. Maybe he will be at the library tomorrow, I thought to myself. Then I remembered I didn't do my schoolwork, but I didn't want to leave my bed. Then I fell asleep. End of chapter 3. So, I hope you guys enjoyed that. We met a character that, wink wink nudge nudge, you are very familiar with. Or maybe I should have let that be a surprise. But whatever, I think you guys got it. So, I'll probably start writing chapter 4 pretty soon. Let me know what you think. I wonder if the story is sucking you in at all. Hopefully it is. I'm having a lot of fun with this, actually. Before I let you guys off, couple things. Be sure to follow us here on BroTunes. Secondly, follow us on Instagram, because if you really enjoy The Outsiders, I'm going to be posting a lot of my own fan art of of The Outsiders. I have a lot of rough drafts that I've drawn out that I've yet to make clean versions of, so I think you guys will enjoy that. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. See you next time.